Alrighty, here we go. We're recording. Um, so I am pleased to announce that I am recording this video, The Awakening of a Biomancer. This will be about my story, my journey of, coming to this word, this phrase, and a understanding and a realization of its meanings, which I continue to unfold. And it's time. My Facebook, it says Noetic Biomancer Vector Equilibrium. Vector equilibrium being the this Nassim Haramein says the geometry of the 0 point. And so my point in that being that it's about the stillness, right? Because music is written on the silence, just as well. We'll just continue here. I'm going to do this by just starting off. I'm going to start off with a couple books. Um, the first one I don't even have, uh, because I think that in bringing this forward, it is important for me to tell the story of how I came to what I'm calling the Biomancer perspective. Because, uh, for me to line it out in a sort of, outline is, for one, um, I'm still working on completing it. And, um, I'll just leave it at that. Looking over at my books, the one that I was wanting to say, yes, I'll get into it now, is The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge by Jeremy Narby. And so this was a book that, for me, really awakened me to, the phenomenology of the spirit world. And, spirit world, what does that even mean, right? That wasn't really a concept that, registered with my awareness the way that it now does. And so, this book, The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge, um, it was about an anthropologist who wrote the book named Jeremy Narby, and he went down to South America. He went down there to spend some time with the Shipibo people in, I believe it was Peru. And the shamans there would drink this brew they called ayahuasca that I'm sure many of you are aware of. And if you're not, that's fine, because we're gonna learn quite a bit here. This is gonna be a fairly long video, I assume. And so, DNA and the Origins of Life, The Cosmic Serpent, this book, and just trying to make it look all nice, whatever. The point is getting across the information. DNA and the Origins of Knowledge. He goes down there and he does this ayahuasca and he sees the spirit world they're talking about. And, but it's like these people, they get the medicine, their knowledge of the medicine from the rainforest. They say it comes from ayahuasca. You ask them how they make ayahuasca, they say ayahuasca taught them, because it's not a simple thing. You've got to get, out of these tens of thousands of species of plants throughout the forest, if not more, you got to go and find, these two. One, the ayahuasca plant, that they call the spirit vine, which, um, I won't get into the fine details now about how all that works, but basically you got to combine these two, plants, of the ayahuasca vine and the chacrinolese, and it allows you to have this sort of psychedelic experience like magic mushrooms, which again were a shamanic type of tool. I think it was Marina Sabina that really first introduced that to um, some researchers that were sent down by the West. I think Gordon Wasson might have had something to do with that, with the being involved with the Council on Foreign Relations. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go check out Jan Irvin and his work, and at Logos Media. But this book, The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge, it showed me, in one part, that colonialism never ended because the big multinational corporations were trying to take the land from the indigenous people, and they coveted the knowledge that the, indigenous shamanic, shamans had of the forest. And so, on one hand, they'll discredit them as, witch doctors and superstitious and all this. And on the other hand, they're, seeking out their knowledge of the plants so that they could, synthesize something that they could sell a lot cheaper as a chemical. And, there's a lot of issues with that. But again, this is, I guess wanting to keep um, the focus on my own evolution because, uh, I'd rather not be, making too many claims or statements that might sound outlandish at first until we really, um, get through laying down some foundations because, um, here right off the bat, here we are talking about the cosmic serpent and how the way that they get the knowledge of the plant medicine from the spirits of the plants is what they say. They speak with the spirits of the plants. And so for me starting out, it was, of course, that's what is that supposed to mean? You know, uh, I wanted to find some sort of, physical explanation. It was really producing results that were sought, the knowledge was sought by the pharmaceutical corporations. And so there had to be something to that knowledge. And yet the way that, that knowledge was gained, is not recognized. And, my issue there was that, I had to be able to explain it scientifically in a way that could not be refuted. Because if these things are real, then we should not denounce them as superstition or as, just crazy people. Because, um, it's just, that would not be cool. So, from the cosmic serpent, a few things, you know, speaking with the spirits of the plants, the spirit world. What is all of that about? Shamanism, right? So that was an interest that I picked up and I developed it through, more books going forward, like Of Water and the Spirit by Malidoma Patrice Sommet, which I'll talk about. And like, Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David Neal, which I'll talk about. And, also other books on ayahuasca as well. And, it took me into Buddhism and Taoism and, Qigong, medical Qigong. Uh, and, so there's the spirit world type of thing. There was the, um, colonialism never ended, and so that was something curious that I had to look into, despite being in, gifted classes and stuff all through, my school, in primary school before college, it was, somehow this realization had, failed to, register squarely in my brain. So, and if that's the case for you, don't feel too bad about it, I guess. But, it's better late than never to, begin examining things. Someone once said that the unexamined life is not worth living, right? And I won't try to unpack all that here because the point trying to stay on track is that we're gonna go through my evolution, and so after mentioning the Cosmic Serpent, I didn't have that book, but there are some books that led me to that I do have with me now, and I mentioned this one, Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David Neal. Okay. After the Cosmic Serpent, this was another one that was also by Jeremy Narby with Jan Conan, Vincent Ravalek, The Psychotropic Mind, The World According to Ayahuasca, Iboga, and Shamanism. And so that was, kind of introduced me to, not just ayahuasca, but another psychedelic. And check out that visionary art. I think that might be Pablo Amaringo, a great visionary artist of, the kind of things that you might see, and maybe the sort of texture of, these visions. I'd say having experienced some of the stuff that, you know, well, this is good for painting. I couldn't compare. So this is another one, Lost Language of the Plants by Stephen Herod Bunner. The ecological importance of plant medicines for Earth. And, this book was just incredible. Um, it really introduced me to, uh, talks about, we foul our air and water with toxic residues. We overlook the power of the planet's natural healers, stabilizers, and chemists. Plants. Bunner sees plants as fully sentient beings adjusting and fine tuning the environment just as they have done for the past 500 million years. Until recently, humans shared the language of the plants, but increasingly, we have lost our ability to communicate with the natural world. Bunner shows us a path back to our shamanic roots, right? Because we're speaking with the spirits of the plants, what is this language that we're speaking with, right? And so, just the title, The Lost Language of the Plants, he seemed to have some sort of idea. And, he really did. Steve Herod Bunner is quite an incredible author in this field. Another book that I have from him right here, Plant Intelligence in the Imaginal Realm, Beyond the Doors of Perception into the Dreaming of the Earth. And he talks about our sensory gating channels and how through certain practices we can actually open up our nervous systems to, receive more input, more information. Uh, one thing I know is like with our nerves and stuff, if there's even just a little bit of, pressure that's impinging the nerve impulse, the effect is drastic. So, um, yeah, Stephen Bunner was a guy who just really blew some doors open for me in this book. It's got just the most incredible quotes, and he really is a very scientific guy, you know, and he's just quoting from like academic journals and stuff like that. Like I was talking about the stuff about the sensory gating channels. He's talking about here's an electrical network model of plant intelligence is an article that was published in 2002. It was actually a talk given at Condensed Matter Days um, by Chakrabarti Bikas and Omjoti Dutta, if I'm saying that right. And you got dimethyltryptamine and other hallucinogenic tryptamines exhibit substrate behavior at the serotonin uptake transporter and vesicle monoamine transporter. And what I'll say just to comment on that, because I know that was a mouthful for sure, um, is that he calls them in this book things like DMT, which is the active component in ayahuasca. He calls them serotonergic neuronostics, right? So that uh, article was just explaining some similarities between serotonin and dimethyltryptamine that is the active component in ayahuasca, which is what the shamans were drinking in order to enable them to speak with the spirits of plants, right? Trying to figure out what that means. I'm gonna pause this real quick. Come back. Okay, back. Sorry about that. Um, my laptop was getting low on battery. But where I was dealing with these books, recap, I came across that book, The Cosmic Serpent, and one of the things that it opened me up to was the world of shamanism. And, what was that all about? Because these people were getting medicine that worked by speaking with the spirits of plants, or somehow the ayahuasca enabled them to perceive the medicine within their environment. And if that was actually happening, it sounds absurd, but how do you go about actually verifying that and showing, that it's real? How do you um go about showing that to somebody who cannot yet see? And how is it that you yourself can come to see it for yourself? So, um, I'm not going to go super far into detail with these, but the next book that I want to show, I guess that would be appropriate. Um, I guess it'd be this whole stack here. This is the next stack. So, looking into the Southern American, um, the ayahuasca, their medicine, this shamanic, tribal people, not necessarily, um, like urban or anything like that, but really more like small tribes. Um, and so as a result, or maybe a lot of things are burned or gotten rid of. I don't know. But for whatever reason, the ayahuasqueros and the traditional medicine of Southern America wasn't as well developed as, say, Chinese medicine or Ayurveda from India. So these are a lot more well established systems that I figured, hey, this is traditional medicine, and there's similar things like ayahuasca around the world. There's psilocybin, like the magic mushrooms that they use, and also in like Central America, and I'm not I'm sure they grow all over the place. I don't know. I just know that all over the place, people go into trance states, people consume psychedelics. Um, maybe it's just the shaman or the chief, and that's the special one that one of the things that I learned is that the shaman goes beyond in order to bring something back. So you go into the spirit world and by interacting with the spirits, make the illness less. And so what does that mean? What does that mean? Chinese medicine works, but it's still, there's an element of, religious, spiritual types of language involved, and the same goes for, um, Ayurveda, and then even with, the Greek medicine, there's gods involved, and the four humors, and one of the more recent developments that I've come across is Shiva Ayyadurai, and the um he talks about his grandmother, okay, because she practiced something that was very much akin to Ayurveda, and it was a face reading. Right? So she'd look at the person's face, and then, you know, based on that, she would, you know, create their own personalized medicine for them. And this is the kind of thing that you do with, Chinese medicine. There's also systems of face reading. And, there's great books, great sources. You can learn this stuff. Invest in yourself. I've got a lot of books, and they've been a great help to me, as you can see. Looking so, with that background, I went into looking at Chinese medicine. Saw a bit of that. Looked into, here's Ayurveda textbooks. Here's the medical qigong, because what I learned is that um in indigenous traditional medicines, energetics is key. Energetics is the foundation. So here that is. And a story out of the Ayurveda textbooks about that is Vasant Ladi says that whenever they do the pulse diagnosis, right? Because it'll be, you know, and I might be, maybe it's on this other side, but they do three fingers, and each finger is getting a different reading of a different kind of pulse, right? And so there's a system of kind of interpreting that. But what Vasant Lad says is that, this actually allows his spirit to speak with the spirit of the patients. And that's how he actually gets his deeper understanding of, uh, you know, how this thing works. And so, with the energetics being the foundation, right, I didn't have these books yet. I had gotten this Planet Medicine, Origins and Modalities, and was looking into, the anthropological sort of roots of medicine, and how the shamans were, kind of the medicine people. And this here book, Wheels of Life, a user's guide to the chakra system, was the first book that I came across in my search for an education into energetics. And so this book, kind of takes you through the psychology associated with, each of the different chakras, and shows you how they're can be associated with, right here, common associations between the chakras and the glands of the endocrine system. If you can, I don't want to let you see that. There we go. There we go. You can see that. Um, and then, it also shows there's, just like you got your solar plexus, there's also a number of nerve plexuses that correspond to the chakras. And so it gives you a series of exercises, like for instance here is, for the root, and so you're compressing, around here back into the root. This is, mobilizing, really exercising the sort of range of motion in a way of, this root area. And so, it gives you postures, it gives you breathing exercises, it gives you meditations, because this is a sort of mind, body, spirit philosophy, three worlds. And, that is a system that we can go into further. But again, I don't want to get into anything too esoteric straight off the bat. Given that I would like this to be accessible, and that's the reason why I have, chosen to go with, trying to explain how it is that I sort of came to, these awakenings, um, I guess you could say. So this this Wheels of Life was one book about the chakras, 7 chakras. There's also, other systems. One talk about the 3 dantian, lower, middle, and upper. Might talk about, the 3 brains, right? The brain, the heart, and the gut. And they all got a lot of nervous tissue in them. And, the gut even produces, most of the, neurotransmitters for your brain and nervous system. But this book, Hara, was a follow-up to Wheels of Life for me. And in Hara, the vital energy center of man, that is like, fire in your belly. Maybe not just the fire in your belly, but the belly. And, sometimes they'll say it'll be like 3 fingers or like 2 inches below your belly button, about 2 inches in. Somewhere around there, you're going to find your center. And, one way that we can do this is by, just mobilizing it through, breathing with our stomach and just maintain awareness there as we're doing these sorts of things. And so there's exercises to aid with that. And, a benefit of, this sort of practice of finding the hara is, when some of the, uh, military people were asked, what the, it might have been like a general or it might have been a sergeant or something, whoever their ranking system was, they said that the goal of all of the military training was to develop the hara, because another thing they say is that, in a sumo match, it's not the bigger guy who wins, but it's the guy with the better hara. And this relates to, really being able to, find an appropriate posture, uh, to move with integrity, and yet be fluid and, good structure and stuff like that. But you get it. We'll have some, definitely have some teachings on this, right? We could go into this. Um, I'll do a qigong class. We'll do it perhaps weekly, perhaps more if there's an interest. Um, I'm so serious recording this. Um, we could have a lot of fun though. And it will be fun. I know some of you, or at least are out there, and you're excited. We're excited. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna get you trained up and practicing some good skills, some good energy skills, some good spirit skill, some good postural alignment and development of the dexterity of your system, powerful way. And so, this here was explaining. I was talking about the chakras, or those books, the chakras and the hara, right? And so these are, energy centers that you focus, and you might focus and meditate on and stuff like that. But, what really does it look like whenever, these efforts are successful? And so I end up with this book, The Buddha's Brain, The Practical Neuroscience of Happiness, Love, and Wisdom. And, I really couldn't tell you much that was in this book. I might learn something from, a review. It's actually nice because it does give you some at the back, and this is like an academic um, sort of book. It's got a lot of, good citations from the academic literature, but it's also got, a section on an appendix on nutritional neurochemistry, right? So how to take care of your system, not just by being a Buddha, mentally, but also by, treating your body well, so that those states that are, attained through this meditation stuff can be more easily supported biochemically. And, so this is kind of, I'm getting into meditation, right? And, that's all great, but it's not really answering the question of how is it that these shamans are able to speak with the spirits of plants, as they say. you know maybe there's something a little bit more needed, like, say, awakening to the spirit world. And so this book, The Shamanic Path of Direct Revelation, I really like that idea, because that was sort of the idea, to speak with the spirits of plants, and to know directly by perceiving the medicine in your environment. And on the back here, we've got uh, the author of a book that I mentioned, Water in the Spirit by Maladome Patrice Sommet, and he's given praise for this book. And I knew that whenever I found that. And I'll tell you real quick about that book of Water in the Spirit and Malidoma's story. And, just recently, in the past year or two, I was privileged to actually meet with a student of the lineage of students under, who learned under that family, in the Sommet family. And so that book of Water in the Spirit was just incredible. I read it after the Cosmic Serpent, but it was, another exposure into the. Let me get some water. It was another exposure into, the world of shamanism for me. And, it wasn't just South America, 'cause at this point I had read a few books on ayahuasca, and, I wanted to learn more about shamans from other places in the world. So I found of Water in the Spirit by Maladome Patrice Sommet. And so, wow, this is going on for a while. And I am going to have to cut this short at some point in time. And then we can go ahead and continue at another time. So, I'm really feeling a lot better about this whole thing. Because to be honest, I had a sort of fear that I was going to run out of content, but it's been like a half an hour, and I'm like, I haven't even had a chance to say anything yet. And you might be already sitting there, kind of, just mind blown by the things that I may have said. Um, the things that I may have shared. This I didn't know until I knew and found books and did the work. And it's been great. It's absolutely, blessed my life in so many ways. And I just think of in the Bible it says the eye is not seen, the ear is not heard what God has in store for those who love him. And I just think of, kind of like the Bodhisattva vow. It's cultivating the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all beings and all universes, because um, it's just so necessary. So it's been 36 minutes. I'm gonna stop this video now because, I think that that's enough. And I think that I'm done for the night. And I think that, starting off talking about water and the spirit tomorrow will be a really fun and exciting place to start. And we can take it from there. And, if you stuck with me for this whole thing, um, thank you. I hope that you got a lot out of this. I hope that you'll give me some feedback. Uh, Reach out, ask me questions, or just comments. You know, and yeah, I hope you tune in again. Um, we'll start with Maladome Patrice Sommet of Water in the Spirit. Amazing story about shamanism in Africa, and from there, I think that we'll probably start getting into some biophysics, and uh, I think that we'll probably stay in that realm for a little while before we get on to looking at that whole angle where the multinational corporations were taking from uh, the Southern American indigenous people. And, I'm sure that this is all good and that this is all great and that we're going to continue to do this. And, um, this is going to be fantastic. So, um, I'll probably actually maybe even record and edit this out. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't know what I'm going to do. Just know that I'm going to keep recording videos because I have the time to at least do something like this. And there's just no excuse. And I can sit and tell myself all that I want, that, it doesn't, uh, that it has to be, this perfect production. But, if I was trying to put together that perfect production, I wouldn't have put out this video. And I really hope that, someone out somewhere out there has gotten a lot of value from it. And, if it seems as if I'm kind of jumping around and, just passing through these books, um, we're going to come back to them because there's really, a lot there. And, just starting with the Cosmic Serpent, I kind of started to flesh out the the whole thing of like the shamanism. And so, moving forward, you know, shamanism was just one aspect, and we're in that right now. And then soon we'll get into uh, the actual like biophysics and the science versus the mystical perspectives, and then we'll get into the thing with the colonialism never ending, and there might even be more there, but we'll get to it. um I just I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna cut it out now. I'm gonna stop the video, and I will do another one tomorrow. I'm not going to agree to any sort of schedule right now. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be every Tuesday or every, but today, take it a day at a time. Tomorrow, I'm going to do this again.